Welcome back to B&G Hockey, where it's always black and gold. Today was day one of Bruins rookie camp. For those of you who haven't seen this, it's a small group of some of the best young Bruins players who will be taking part in a small round-robin tournament against the Buffalo Sabres top prospects and the New Jersey Devils top prospects. That tournament will be held on September 18th and 19th. Today was their very first official practice as a team, so I figured we'd go ahead and look at this roster, and I'll give you the top 5 guys I'm most excited to watch at this year's rookie camp. The first player I'm excited to watch in no particular order is Curtis Hall. I've always loved this kid's game. I've talked about him on the channel before. I love that he plays physical, plays with speed, and it seems like he could still grow his game a little bit offensively, but overall the organization has been really happy with his development, and he continues to get better and better as an overall player. I don't see him contending to make this year's Bruins roster. Maybe he gets a couple of call-ups, but I do see him playing a big role with the Providence Bruins and maybe making the Bruins next season. I have a feeling that Taylor Hall won't be my only favorite Hall on the Bruins in the near future. This next player is in a similar position to Curtis Hall, where he'll likely be playing a large role for the Providence Bruins this season, but I do think he has a much better chance of making the Boston Bruins out of camp, and that's forward Jakub Lauko. This is a player who's kind of flown under the radar as one of the Bruins' top prospects for quite some time now. He has battled with some injury problems, so that hasn't exactly helped his case, but this is a guy with some elite-level skill, and a player who I see being a successful middle six winger in the not-too-distant future. Now, guys like Jack Studnicka and Trent Frederick probably have the inside track on this guy to make the team this year, but I would say that those guys are natural centermen, and the Bruins don't always love making them play wing. That's likely where they'd have to play if they made the Bruins early on this season, so if they're looking for natural wingers to fill in on the wing, Lauco might be their guy. This is a player who I see being called up quite a bit this season, especially if there's any injuries on the wing. I could see him leading the Providence Bruins in points, and he's going to be an impressive player to watch in this tournament. He's likely one of the best on the entire Bruins roster, and probably one of the best in the entire round-robin tournament. Speaking of the best, it's time to talk about Fabian Lysell. It's hard to not get excited about this player if you're a Boston Bruins fan. His skill level and speed is off the charts, but I do think we all need to cool down our expectations a little bit, at least for this season. It's highly unlikely that he makes the Boston Bruins, and he might not even play for the Providence Bruins this year. But if he does, I do hope he gets a little bit of a big role to at least work on some of his skill and play some top 6 minutes. There are definitely still plenty of things he needs to work on. He needs to get used to playing in North America, needs to bulk up a little bit, and round out his overall game. But in a couple of years, I would not be surprised if this is a superstar for the Boston Bruins. When it comes to this tournament, I think he has plenty of skill and speed that he'll still be one of the top players, and if nothing else, he will definitely be fun to watch. This next player is also fun to watch, and he'll likely be the Bruins' top defenseman in this tournament, and that's defenseman Ahcan. Now, he's small, and some Bruins fans just hate that and will never get over it. He can still fill out a little bit, bulk up, and get better in his own zone, but that's never going to be his strength, and he's always going to be right around 5'8". Ahcan is a very skilled offensive defenseman, though. We've seen guys like Torrey Krug, Matt Grzelcyk, even Connor Clifton have some success on the Boston Bruins. So I wouldn't mind seeing this kid be a power play specialist for the team in the near future. If there's any injuries to the back end, you'll definitely see his name in the hat for guys who might be called up. He played 3 games for the Bruins last year, didn't do so hot. He's still developing as a player, but I think he'll do great in this tournament, and I can't wait to watch him this year in Providence, playing some top minutes and running that top power play, because that is something he is definitely good at. But Ahcan isn't the only defenseman I'll be keeping my eye on in this tournament. For my 5th and final player I'm most excited to watch, it's defenseman Brady Lyle. This kid put up some fantastic numbers as a defenseman playing for the Providence Bruins last season, and I don't think enough Bruins fans are talking about him. It seems like Connor Clifton is kind of a lock to be the third pair right defenseman, but I think Brady Lyle should get some serious consideration. Now, I like Connor Clifton. Overall, I think he's a nice defenseman, and I like that even though he's on the smaller side, he still plays with some physicality. But Brady Lyle is 6'3", and he plays a better all-around game. Now, I'm not saying that Brady Lyle makes you a cup contender, or he should be a lock in the top 6 either, but I like the sound of a right side that's McAvoy, Carlo, Lyle, because they're all developing further at the same time, and I think Connor Clifton has kind of reached his ceiling. Now, I would like to still keep Clifton on the team. Maybe you can cycle him out, switch off every other game. If you're playing a bigger team, you can play Lyle. Smaller team, you can play Clifton. And I think Clifton would be a nice 7th defenseman on a Stanley Cup contending team like the Boston Bruins. But I think Brady Lyle, of all the players I just mentioned, probably has the best chance to make the Boston Bruins out of camp, and I absolutely think he should get a big look at that, and if not, he should play some top minutes down in Providence and some top minutes in this tournament. Lastly, I just wanted to go over the final roster in case you haven't seen it yet and give you a couple of honorable mentions. Starting with Oskar Steen. He played in 3 games for the Boston Bruins last year. Very similar to Shawn, he just wasn't ready. He's a smaller forward who plays with quite a bit of speed, probably nothing more than a bottom 6 player at the NHL level, but don't be surprised if he plays some top 6 minutes for the Providence Bruins this season. Jesper Froden is an interesting one. He's a guy who's on the older side. He has yet to play in the NHL. You would think he'd be pretty good in this tournament because he has more experience, but he's playing against some guys who have played at the AHL and NHL level, so he might get left behind. He was originally a player I was pretty excited to see play a bottom 6 role for the Bruins, but since that video, they signed much better players, so obviously that's out the window, but maybe he grabs a top 6 role in Providence. Taking a look at the rest of the defense as well as the goaltenders, there's a couple of interesting names here, starting with James Greenway. We acquired him in that small trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You can go back and watch my video on it in case you missed it, but Greenway is a guy who's yet to even play at the AHL level, so who knows, maybe he could turn out to be a nice surprise this year for the Bruins organization. Nick Wolff is another defenseman with quite a bit of size. I know the organization likes him quite a bit. Kyle Kaiser is an interesting one. He's a goaltender I've liked for quite some time. Now, he's kind of gotten pushed down the depth chart, but since they got rid of Brodeur, he's kind of risen back up the depth chart. Jeremy Swayman is likely graduated to the NHL, at least until Tuukka Rask potentially comes back, so I would think that Kyle Kaiser will get quite a bit of starts in Providence this year, and he's a guy I'm definitely keeping my eye on as a potential backup for the future for the Boston Bruins. And when you see Brodeur and then you see goaltender above it, you think there's no possible way, but yes, that is the legendary Brodeur's son. Nothing to get too excited about, but I just thought it was kind of funny that he was there, and I'm definitely excited to watch him, and you have to think he's going to play against the Devils in the round-robin tournament. That's all I got for you in this one. Let me know who you're most excited to watch in this year's Bruins rookie camp, and who do you think has a shot at making the Boston Bruins this season? Leave that down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like, and if you haven't already, subscribe.